Hello, hello, and welcome to Hygiene Elevated Conversations and Innovations. Today we are joined by the one and only Shelley Brown. Shelley, thank you so much for joining us on our podcast today.
I'm happy to be here.
Now, you are practically famous. You are an icon here in Utah. But for those who don't know the Shelley Brown of Hygiene Edge, tell us a little bit about all of the projects that you are into, and all of your little your not pockets, but all of your pet projects, and then we'll kind of dive into each one of those.
Okay, yeah, just an overview. I have a problem where I love to do a lot of little things. I just feel lately like life is too short and there's so many things I want to accomplish, so it's a problem. But maybe it's a good problem. Just trying to find all the balance. So currently I teach at a dental hygiene school. So I have 7 classes throughout the 20-month accelerated program that I teach at there. So I love teaching those courses.
What
And I love
school are you teaching at?
It's the Utah College of Dental Hygiene in Orem, Utah. And I just love working with students. They're so moldable and kind and just they're great to work with. And then about almost 10 years ago now, I started a company called Hygiene Edge with Malia Lewis and Jessica Atkinson. And that's where we create just helpful content for dental hygienists. We just mainly it was for hygienists and for students, and just through short, helpful videos. And then I also run another company called Homebound Smiles, where I go around and can treat patients in public health settings here in Utah. And I do that to keep my clinical skills fresh because I was working in education and I kind of slowly pulled myself out of a clinic to work more in education. And I was like, I just love that clinical aspect and I want to scale a tooth, dang it. So I was like, I'm going to start this up. And then I also do CPR certification as well. So, and I have 4 kids. I have 4 little boys and married and busy. And wow, life is just amazing and so fun. So that's in
That
a
is
nutshell.
so many things, so many things. And so it sounds like we all kind of have that same sickness where we love to do and dabble in so many little things. So,
Yes.
yeah. So, what initially kind of drew you into becoming a dental hygienist? What does that story look like?
Yeah. So my mom was a dental assistant back in Idaho. I'm
Okay.
from Preston, Idaho. Go Napoleon Dynamite. And she, there were like after school hires that they would hire. And when I was a junior in high school, I thought I was going to get hired. I was like, okay, I'm going to be working in the dental office. And they said, actually, they're going to hire this other person. You can do it when you're a senior. And I was mad. I was like, I wanted that. I probably want it more than that other person. And I think because I wanted it more, when I showed up and finally got there, I was like, I'm going to knock this out of the park and just let them know they should have hired me last year, which is kind of, I don't know, that's probably not the greatest mentality, but I totally did. I knocked it out of the park. And then when I was there, my mom just subtly encouraged me, like, hey, maybe you should become a dental hygienist. I honestly wish she would have encouraged me to be a dentist. Like, why not go big? Right. But she was like, this is a baby step. I think Shelley can handle this. Right. But yeah, I think that motivated me. Just a side note to like encourage my kids like for something bigger, and it's okay if they do something maybe not as big, whatever they want, but like talk about all the things with our kids, all
Yeah.
the options. But anyway, so that's how I wanted to become a hygienist. Was she was planting these little seeds and I was chatting with the hygienist and I was like, yeah, that's totally what I want to be. And just I could see how they interacted in the office and they were more prevention focused. And so that's how I initially got my start from my mama.
That's cool. We ask almost everybody kind of their hygiene story, and they're all so unique. And it's interesting the people that had some sort of dental professional influence their life. I think those are kind of the funniest stories. But I love your passion for, oh yeah, you're bad. You made a mistake in not hiring me. I love that. Like, Show you, pal.
Yeah, don't tell me no. It's a problem. If someone tells me no, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it anyway. It's like this reverse psychology, right?
I think this person over here has that same problem, Joffrey.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. You know, when Shelley, you're talking about all the things you have going, and you're like, I have a problem. I think Amanda called it a sickness. And I'm like, this is not a sickness. I am excelling at life. I am evolved. And but it is so crazy trying to keep track of everything once we have all these ideas
Passion
actually
project,
going, you know, like
passion project.
Yeah.
yes. I have to say, I feel like I am just like one of Shelley's biggest fans. So like having you on today is amazing because you know, I've been doing my student presentations and I tell them all, you know, when I started hygiene school, I didn't really know much about it. I just thought it would be a good idea. And so I describe myself like entering the hygiene program is just like an empty cup. And all my educators and the professors and the clinical instructors just filled me up with so much passion. And the cup is just like overflowing now. And I just think you're like one of the most impactful educators that I had the experience of learning from, and you just filled my cup up, Shelley. So I'm so incredibly grateful for you.
Thank you. Yeah, side note for you listeners, Joffrey was one of my students. So I am super geeking out and so proud of her. Oh my gosh, it's so fun to see the reach of students. I've had almost over 1,000 students. Can you believe that? That's a crazy number.
That is a high number.
Well, you know, the Utah College of Dental Hygiene is something really special. Now that I'm traveling and meeting so many other programs, not very many of them are at the capacity of 60 students a program. I mean, I was just at a school in New Mexico and there were 9 students. So it like, yeah, I can believe you've impacted that many lives because you're at like the mecca of hygiene. Like,
No, and everybody looks at me like 60 students, like that's impossible, but they make it work. And it's really awesome. And honestly, we need more hygienists in the profession. I used to be like, oh my gosh, everybody used to be like, oh, it's saturating, you know, but I'm like, we need more. Like in public health here in Utah, there's 2, maybe 3. There's 3. I'm like, we have so many people, we have so much work to do. So yeah, we need more.
That's crazy. So with Hygiene Edge, I want to go back. So I moved up to Utah 3 years ago, kind of started my hygiene influencer account, so the Curvy Scaler, and I started following Hygiene Edge. And it was quite a while before I realized you guys were here in Utah. And the reason I figured that out, you had filmed some content at the office that I was working at. And I saw a post and I was like, what? That is my office. What the heck is this? And so I don't know. I think once I finally met Joffrey, we randomly had a conversation about Hygiene Edge, and she was good friends with all of you guys. And I was like, they filmed content at my office and I never knew about it. So it was before I started, but it was a brand new office in Daybreak. So, so you guys have huge success with Hygiene Edge. And you gave us a little bit of a background. So you are in education. How did you and your 2 partners decide to start it? How did you guys meet? All of those things.
Yeah, good question. So I kind of always had this thought in the back of my mind when I graduated from hygiene school. I was like, I want to do something important, something that will help other hygienists. And so I was thinking, like, should I write a little book? Like, I don't know, what is it that I should do? And Candy Kid, she was actually an original founder of Hygiene Edge. She doesn't do it anymore because she's got some special needs kids, but we're trying to rope her back in to do some writing for us. Anyway, she and Jessica Atkinson were chatting one day and they were like, like, what should we, like, we want to like make these little videos for some students to help them see the techniques before they have to do them. And they're like, we should make them for like UCDH, you know? And so they texted me and they're like, hey, do you want to have a meeting about making some videos for UCDH? And when I read their text message, like a light bulb just clicked in my head. Then I was like, oh my gosh, like everybody needs a helpful video, like not just our students. And so I was like, oh yeah, let's meet and let's chat about it. So we met at a Little Noodles and Company in Orem, Utah. And I walked in with a newborn baby. And I was like, hey, so when you sent me that text, I really was thinking, let's make videos for everybody in the world. And let's just get together. Let's just like film a bunch of stuff and like put it on YouTube and see where it goes. And we put it on, and most of them were just like little injection videos, and they were not great. I think sometimes when we're working on a project, we're like, it has to be 100% perfect before we start anything. And I'm more of the type of person that's like, let's just do. I'm the doer. I don't like to have an idea and not like make it come to fruition. And I want it to come to fruition as best as possible, but maybe, you know, they're not as great as what I have today, you know? And so that's, I think, some people's hiccup is they're like, I don't feel like I can get started because I'm not good enough. But if you have the idea on why you should start, you should do. Anyway, so we posted these on YouTube and they were great. They went viral, I guess you could say. And so we were like, well, let's make a business out of it. And like, let's make videos maybe for companies, and let's just make more and more. You can monetize it on YouTube. We're trying for our play button this year. We're hoping that we get, so subscribe if you're watching this. For our YouTube channel. We really want a YouTube play button. We're so close. So it's one of our dreams. Anyway, so just from that, then, you know, you have to start other social media accounts to kind of link to that account and create this social presence. And Malia Lewis, who, you know, is now, you know, one of our business partners, we brought her on from the beginning, right? But she is like an amazing social media guru, and she has been behind a lot of that growth that we've had on Hygiene Edge. So just love having her on our team. She's a really thoughtful, she's an innovator in that space for sure. So yeah, that's how we started, just really organically. And then we were like, my team was like, we need somebody to like edit these videos. And I'm like, well, we don't have that much money. You know, when you first start, you don't have money. So I'm like, I'm just going to learn. I'm going to self-learn on YouTube. And so I picked the hardest one. Adobe Premiere Pro video editor is like the worst one to learn. So I was just like, every time I do, I'm just going to learn one new skill. I'm going to watch one new little video. And I'm just going to incorporate one new little thing. And then over time, you just like build up all these tiny little things until it becomes something big, right? And so the process has been long and will always be learning. And I really love that type of growth in my life. But I always look back and I'm like, ugh, those like first videos, and like, oh, they're gross. And I'm sure somebody out there is like, what the heck? And this is terrible. But even from, I was like, we should take them down. But like, even from some our you know, our original videos, I still feel like people learn from them. And even if I think the biggest part, sorry, I'm getting long-winded here, is that people are negative, right? Like sometimes it's hard to even read the comments because people are super negative and they just feel like they can type anything that they want and put it out there. And that's just how social media works. And it's kind of unfortunate, but because we have to get really thick skin. And I realized that not everybody does everything the same way, but we all get to the end result. So, you know, I'm never going to take those old ones down. I might put a little update with a description and be like, hey, this is what 2023 says to do. Consider this in your practice. But we can definitely learn from the past as much as we can from today, right? So it's been a really awesome project. And now we get to work with a lot of companies on promoting their products. So if we like it, then we promote it. Of course, there's some that we're like, oh, I don't know if this is like a great product. So maybe develop it a little bit more. Maybe we've helped develop products and been like, hey, this is really not going to work for dentistry. Like the, you know, those toothbrushes that are all in one that started.
Oh yeah, like a mouthpiece.
The rubber bristle. Like I'll email them like, you got to fix this bristle. And then they put a nylon one on it, which removes biofilm better. But like doing that part of aspect of research in the dental field has been really fun and exciting as well. So it's been a great project.
Shelley, I love that you guys keep the old stuff up. Like,
Yeah.
That is the perfect example of like, if it's not perfect, just do it. And you're like the trendsetters, like just do it. And so by keeping it up, it really solidifies that message. Like, just leave it, just shoot
Yeah.
your shot and see what happens. And so I like that you're keeping the old stuff up. I do.
Yeah, it's a stretch, but sometimes it's hard, but we do. Yeah.
Well, Shelley, last year you roped me in on writing an article with you. And I was so nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, I've never done this before. Like, I don't even think like I have the skill or the brains to write something that people would be intrigued to read. I'm like, I don't know. But you asked me, I was like, okay, I'll challenge accepted. I'm going to do it. And you inspired me so much that earlier this year I wrote again, and I plan to continue doing it. I really enjoyed it, even though I'm not great at it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just slowly get better, like you practicing video editing.
Yeah.
But I'm curious what it brought you into writing, because you've written some amazing pieces.
Yeah. So I was writing like a little bit for our blog, and and that's mainly where my writing was going. And then of course you have to script all your videos, do a lot of research for those. So I was writing in that capacity. But I actually had a student, her name's Heather Bolin. Hi Heather, if you're watching this. She wrote an article for RDH magazine before she had graduated from hygiene school.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, tell me more about like this writing. I didn't like, I've been running Hygiene Edge and working with companies for like 9 years, but for some reason I missed the aspect that like you could write for a company. I was thinking maybe they have to reach out to me. Like I didn't know the process, And she just was like, oh, you just write an article, whatever you want, and you just submit it. And if they accept it, great. If they don't, great. I was like, that sounds really easy. That's what I'm already doing. And so yeah, with that, reached out to some companies with a few articles and ideas, and I had to learn how to write an article with like citations, or I had done that in school, but I don't know, I hadn't done it for years. So I had to, the first one I submitted had some edits, right? I think sometimes we're fearful of that feedback. It's not going to be good enough, right?
Yes.
But people want you to be good, right? They want to help you. They want this content. They want these messages that you have in your mind. And so, yeah, it's that do aspect, right? Just do. And so you're going to have mentors along the way that are going to guide you and help you, or you might have to watch a little video or something. You're going to progress into something that's better. But yeah, mainly it was inspiration from one of my students. And then to help, when I was with Joffrey, she actually came to speak with one of my classes, practice management class, on how to be a great producer. She's good at that stuff. And I was sitting there in class and I was like, oh my gosh, I've been teaching this practice management class forever. And I have so many of these great ideas that I share with the students. And I was like, we should share these with the world. And I was like, Joffrey should share all this too. And so that's when I was like, we should co-write an article. And I love mentoring others too. Since I co-wrote that article with you, I've reached out to a few more people and I'm like, hey, I know that you have this cool story. Can we co-write it together? Maybe I'll put in the research and you share your story and share it with the world, because it's important information. So that was like the first one I co-wrote. And from that, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many other people who we should co-write with. That was fun.
Oh, Shelley, that is so cool. I love hearing that. You're the best. I love it. Okay, Shelley,
I was gonna jump in for a second.
Oh, go ahead, Amanda.
So that is something Joffrey and I have both kind of started this year. And for me, I was super nervous about writing an article, like that fear of, I think, rejection, like you were kind of saying, not even just rejection from whatever publication you're trying to get into, but that peer-to-peer rejection is very scary. And I was telling this to Jackie Sanders, and she was like kind of confirming, like, yes, that's something normal to be afraid of. But she's like, more people are excited to hear from you, like what you were just saying. They want to hear that message inside your head, because if you're thinking it, other hygienists are thinking it too. And so that was something when Joffrey and I came back from RDH Evolution, really, it wasn't something on my horizon, but I have now committed to like 5 articles. These are my due dates above my head over here. And I had like a week to write my first one because it was, yeah, exactly. Very nervous, but you don't know until you try, and it's fine if it's cringe.
Yeah.
You have to get past that cringe point, and just be willing to be vulnerable and put yourself out there. And it's amazing what can happen when you do that.
Well, speaking of Jackie Sanders, so she's like, if anyone doesn't know, she's like the editor of the RDH magazine, chief editor, and she's an incredible mentor herself. If Jackie's listening, hello, Jackie.
I describe her to my husband as like the godfather of the dental hygiene world.
Yeah, I love
that. Well, I wrote a piece. I was like, okay, I'm just going to write something and see if it sticks, and it didn't. But Jackie gave me like incredible feedback. And I'm like, oh, you're right. I didn't think about it from that perspective. Or you're like, everything she said, I was like, that is true. That's actually right about this piece I just wrote. And so I was actually incredibly grateful for that feedback that she gave me. And I like just thought about it, stewed on it for a few days. And then I went again and I wrote the piece better the second time, I would say, because then she loved it and they published it. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it was like, if I would just say to anybody listening that wants to write, if they tell you no, like, just try again. It's okay.
And it's not a no, you're an idiot, stop trying. It's no, let's figure out how to make this better and help you succeed.
Yeah. And I think each of us need that person in our life, even that, or our hygiene bud, that we can be like, hey, can you review this and give me your honest feedback? It could be the editor, it could be the biggest person, but yeah, I think we each need one of those to help guide us along the way as well. So be one of those for someone else too. I wish you would send it to me, Joffrey. I would have helped you as well.
No, the next one. Now you signed yourself up.
Yeah, if you need some feedback, I'd love it. I love helping others.
All right. Shelley, we definitely want to dive into Homebound Smiles and spend some time just really learning about what you're doing, because like you said, not very many people are doing it, and it's probably because none of us know how or even how to get started. So just tell us all about it.
Yeah. So this is another project that's taken me years, and you learn along the way. It's just like with patient care, right? Your very first patient, think about that patient and like think, I wish I could go back and scale them because I had no idea which way my instrument went, right? So I've learned along the way that, sometimes we look at these things and we're like, I have to be here compared to this other person. Like they're there, I want to be there already. So that kind of inhibits us from starting sometimes. So something that I'm really good at, I guess, is like compartmentalizing little tiny tasks. I'm going to learn this one skill through a video editing or, whatever it might be. So I like to set these tiny little goals. So initially, like I said, here in Utah, it was passed probably in 2015 that we could treat patients with or in a public health setting. So that could include a school. It could include a nursing home. It could include a patient's house if they're considered homebound. And, I was kind of like, that is super cool. And then I saw someone else start one in St. George, Danielle, and it was her name, Evans, and she's super amazing.
Yes, she is.
And I was like, that would be super cool. So I actually, like in 2019, got the business license through the state and then through my city to start one. And then COVID hit, and then I got pregnant, and I didn't see any patients, but I kept all the business license stuff until like 2022. So 3 years later. Okay. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to start this, sometimes things take a long time. And this has been one of those for me. But the girl from St. George, Danielle, she was like, I know you have your business license. I know that you want to do this. I have a patient moving to your area and I need somebody to see them, and you're the only one. Nobody else is doing this, right? And I was like, okay, I can do it. This is my first patient. Like, coach me through it. Like, what am I supposed to do? And so then I had to be like, okay, what equipment am I going to get? What are like my basics, you know? And she actually uses a zero gravity backyard chair.
Okay.
You have one of those?
My husband, yes.
Yeah, they're super lightweight. And because I was like, man, chairs are $1,000. A suction is $2,000. I have to get all these instruments. I have to get the gauze. I have to get, all the sterilization
All the
stuff.
small
Like,
little
I need
things that
everything.
add up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I need like everything to begin. I need every little thing. And she was like, no, you don't. She's like, you could use that chair, or they could sit in their own chair. I'm like, okay, I don't even need a chair, really. And she's like, do you have your own instruments? I'm like, I totally have all my own instruments. And so I had that available. She's like, you can get gauze off of Amazon. I'm like, okay. And she's like, you can use their toothbrush to do a little toothbrush prophy. You just brush their teeth for them, right? Because they're not even getting that service. The nurses barely have time to like brush their teeth for them. So I'm like, okay, I can go in with, pretty much no chair. I can take my instruments in and scale, and I can do this. So I started really, really small. And then over time, as I saw more patients, I was like, okay, this was the biggest pain point of that visit. What can I add in different? So I did end up getting the chair later on because theirs was a little, I did want to sit. It was kind of hard to like kneel and bend. And my chair still isn't the greatest. I mean, ergonomics are not the greatest, but I'm still trying my best to sit high, and I still have to stand to do all my 12 o'clockers. But, and then from there, you just add in little more things. Like the one thing I love the most is my first, but I saw my very first patient and I was done and I was leaving and I was like almost in tears because I was like, one, my patient was so grateful. Like, not a lot of patients come in and like hug me and tell me, I've never had anybody come see me like that. And it was amazing, So they're always super grateful. And then two, the autonomy. This is my new word I learned at that time, to choose what I feel like my patient needs versus somebody else having to tell me. Because I know the patient the best, right? And I know how to diagnose, even though they tell me that I can't. They teach me in school how to do it. And I know how to treat. I know how to perform perinatal therapy well. But to be able to be like, okay, you need SDF in these areas to arrest these caries. You need a fluoride treatment. You also need povidone iodine, which will help kill off the strep mutans. You need your gingiva is super inflamed and infected, so let's do a sulfonated phenolic. Like, bringing those things into my practice that I have researched and felt like are important for the patient was just like life-changing for me. And also realizing that I guess this service, I would love to, I know that Colorado has independent practice, but man, we could just prevent so much more. I think if we had independent practice and I could see anybody. I had a patient I was treating just the other day, and I could hear their family in the next room, and they were like, man, it's just ridiculous that you have to be on hospice to get oral health care in your home. And I was like, what did they just say? They just told me no. I just heard a no. This has got to change. This has got to change. There's all sorts of models. So if any dentist is listening out there, we're not going to take hygienists out of the operatory and out of your practices. There's patients who still very much so want that service, and they're going to keep coming. But there are some patients who, they don't want to go into a traditional dental setting, and they're not getting care because they maybe don't want to go. We need to be able to provide care for those patients. And so, yeah, I think in our next generation of hygienists, independent practice, independent practitioners, whatever model that looks like, and however we need to collaborate that to make sure that the patients are safe, of course, and getting excellent care, great, but it needs to happen. It definitely needs to happen. So yeah, that was
I think we found like what you're most passionate about, Shelley. Holy cow! I think you brought like a little tear in my eye listening about. I love everything about that. I actually did not know that Danielle Evans did this in St. George. Amanda and I, she actually just invited us down. We're going to be there for the Southern Component next weekend, and we're really
sad to miss
excited
it.
about it. But we wouldn't be there if it wasn't for her. Like, she is just incredibly thoughtful and kind and sweet, and so I'm not surprised that she's doing this as well. Like, and it is so cool to see that you guys, as like 2 of 3 that are doing this in Utah right now, are collaborating together and helping each other. And I think that is so wonderful for our profession, for everyone to hear, like, hygienists help other hygienists. Like, we all want to grow and succeed and give the best for our patients. Because you graduate and you're like afraid of all the other hygienists. You're like, oh, they're judging me. They're better than me, or they're like,
they're competing for the same thing I am.
Yeah, and it's really not
that
the case.
idea.
We all have the same goal. We all just want to help our patients and do good work and good things. And so I love seeing you guys collaborate and work together. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I think we keep too many secrets in dentistry, and we feel like if I share my secrets, you're going to infringe on my space. But we just have so many patients to treat. We have so much education to give. And so if you're wanting to start something new, reach out to those who are willing to share. Because I just like love sharing and seeing other people kind of grow from, what I've learned, because there's just so much more that we need. And each individually, we can't do it all. And we're like, really, we really need more. And I'm like, we need more. We need more people showing the correct ways to do things on social media. We need more education of hygienists. Like, so if you're wanting to start something, in public health or on social media or be some type of influencer, there is space for you.
Yeah, there's room for everybody in dentistry. Like, anybody. You can do exactly what I'm doing, and I would support your company. And
right. And honestly, we're all going to do it a little different.
Yeah.
Right? We're not going to, somebody's not going to probably be like, I'm going to do everything that Shelley is doing exactly to the T. They're going to realize, oh, I like this route. I'm going to do it this way. And so, we definitely need to embrace one another and help each other along the way, for sure.
Yeah. I wanted to share a story with you, Shelley, of a practice that I used to work at back in New Mexico. We had a patient that had been coming in for quite a while, and he had a very debilitating disease, and they were no longer able to come into our office. He had a very large chair that helped him do all the functions. Like, this probably was a $60,000 chair, but it did not fit into any of our operatories. And his wife reached out and asked if I could go to their home to perform a prophylaxis, because they were very on top of it with hygiene. They really understood the need for oral health at whatever phase of life you're in. Yeah. And so with my doctor's permission, I was able to go to their home on a Saturday and provide care. And, it was one of those things. I was like, oh, I don't have my ultrasonic. Oh, I didn't have a cordless handpiece, but I went and I scaled and removed as much of the plaque, the soft stuff, as possible. And they were so incredibly grateful. And one of those, like, I know I didn't do 100%, but 100% was like, whatever percentage I did was better than the 0% he would have had. And that was such an incredibly amazing feeling of being able to meet a family's need during a specific time in their life where that health is just deteriorating. It was fulfilling and sad all at the same time. But it's crazy that that's the only time that you're allowed to provide at-home service to patients in Utah.
Yeah. And I'm grateful for it. I mean, don't get me wrong. Patients, it's a good start.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm just thinking right now what a cool model it would be. Like, when you're in the office and somebody may have like 10 kids and they all come in and it's just like mass chaos. Can you imagine just going to their house and like you don't have to stress about them destroying your your
Moms
operatory?
want this. As a parent, I want somebody to come to my house and treat all my kids. I do not want to load them up and do all the things.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can actually, yeah, that would be awesome.
That would be so cool. Like that would be such a luxury as a mom. Like, wow, the hygienist just showed up and we didn't have to all fight to get in the car or drive down there and be all stressed out. Sometimes you can see it on mom or dad's face, like just the stress, just the like pure anxiety, frustration building up, and we're all trying to be fun and it's okay. It's all right. Let's get them a coloring book. We're trying to do all these things to like corral their wild children. But wow, that would be awesome to just show up at their house.
I totally agree. And it's in their own space and they feel safe. And hopefully they'll be a little more receptive to treatment because they're in my house, and then I just saw my sibling do it and they were fine, not somewhere new with weird smells. Like, this is my space.
No more like kids crying, like just bawling in your chair. You're like, wow, that'd be so neat.
Yeah, someday.
The future of hygiene is going to be really awesome.
It's going in such an amazing progression. It's going to be slow baby steps, but yeah, through teledentistry, if you took all of your equipment and you had a really great intraoral camera, you took radiographs, a dentist could sit in an office and make a diagnosis based on your data. It's sent right to the dentist. They get paid still for an exam. They can do a telehealth exam, and then the patient would be reappointed to go back to the dental office and get all the restorations done. But we could do all the preventive there. If they needed silverdimine fluoride, we could do that. We could perform more education with the patients. I feel like a little bit easier. You can go a little bit slower. I think that it just probably would be a better model overall for oral health. So hopefully we see some of those changes continue in our profession. We will.
Well, it might be really old, but we'll see it happen.
Well seasoned, Joffrey. Well seasoned. Not old.
I think I might be old by then, but I'm very seasoned.
We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. It depends on the state, I guess. Yeah, every state's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
I know. Won't that be wild? Like in one state, it will be like, no, you can't do injections, but your neighboring state, they're like going to people's houses and they're doing all this stuff. Like it's going to be a really wild time, like for the ones who are holding back.
That is the story of Texas and New Mexico. So I am from New Mexico, which is not a very modern state at all, if you will say. But for whatever reason, hygiene in New Mexico is more progressive than most states. Like I have had my general supervision license for 12 years now. So I've been able to do injections without my doctor in the country for a very long time. And I have friends that own practices in New Mexico, and they have for years. I want to say about 13 to 14 years. Hygienists have been able to own their own practice in the state of New Mexico. You still have to have a collaboration, a doctor to be able to refer to. But yeah, it was so weird to me coming to Utah where there's so much more education. There's so many hygiene schools. It feels like there's a great hygiene community here, but hygienists are just like barely allowed to practice without the dentist present on premises, which is so weird to me coming from a state where I carry on like normal if my doctor's, out of the country on vacation. It was weird. That was a weird one. I was not expecting that.
I'm sure that's hard. I think that's, a great reason why to be a member of the American Dental Hygienists Association is we need to be able to pay these lobbyists to support our profession. That's what we do here in Utah with our funds that we get from those who are members. We pay a lobbyist, and then our lobbyist helps us pass these bills. And that was what was done in New Mexico. I'm sure that somebody was like, let's pay this lobbyist all, some money, and and let's pass these bills because this is what our patients need. And it's a working model in New Mexico, and we can see that it's helping patients. And so I think that, it's always slow moving, but I think that that's why membership is super important. We have to be paying attention to our profession. I don't want to go backwards. Like here in Utah recently, they were doing a recodification of our Practice Act, and they were like, "Ooh, we shouldn't be letting hygienists do these things." And we're like, wait, we've already been doing those things. Please don't take that away. And so like we need to make sure that we have good people in our annual or in our UDHA
component
so that we're protecting our profession. And really the interesting thing is just the growth we need to get to where we can practice at our scope of practice, right? Like we're trained to do injections, like some states still can't do that. So yeah, that is a hard part about our profession, especially that it's different in each state. We can do all different things, and like all dentists in all states can do all the things, maybe not all. There's some restrictions on like sedation and things like that. But I'm like, I want to see that for our profession. I don't want them to go in at the basic level.
Yeah.
Go in, they should all just be given the highest level. So anyway, I'm a soapbox there.
No, I love it. And you guys, you were just at the Capitol yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes. And I saw the like Instagram post of everybody's like picture on there. And I believe she's a lobbyist. I'm not sure what her title is, but Maisie Thompson was on the poster, and I grew up with her. I know her, like her whole family, and I thought, oh my gosh, what, she's helping our profession. And it was just so exciting seeing her, and she just, her beautiful picture on that Instagram post. But I'm like, it was just really cool because I saw so many picture faces that I knew on that post, and I'm like, I was just very, very proud of our little hygiene community at that moment. But I thought it was neat.
Agreed. Yeah, Maisie's going to bat for us. Everybody needs a lobbyist. They all do. But yeah, they're super, super important to progress our profession for our patients, for sure. That's fun.
So, Shelley, we talked obviously about your Homebound Smiles program. What was the process for getting approved to bill to Medicaid look like?
Okay, yeah. So the Medicaid part was passed probably 2 years ago here in Utah. And they were just like, this hygienists can do this skill, but now we can't really get paid. We have to get paid like through cash pay. We can't really bill insurance. And so they're like, well, let's make hygienists Medicaid providers so that they can get reimbursed. And this is the population they're treating. And so when it finally passed into law, then I could go to the Health and Human Services website and fill out the application to become a Medicaid provider. And you heard me say before, I am the doer, and sometimes I then learn afterwards. So I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to fill out all this paperwork. And I kind of watched some of the videos, and I was just like, as I get a patient on Medicaid, I will then learn how to input the information into Medicaid. Because I'm like, I don't really know. I did it, but I don't really maybe know exactly all the things of how it works, which might sound a little bit backwards, but sometimes I just need to like get the first step done. What is a first step that I can for sure check off the list? I love check boxes. I love checking things off my list. It gives me that dopamine high, right? But yeah, it was just a application you had to fill out, but it took me like 2 months because I'd go in and do something, and then I'd get like a hiccup and I'd have to call. So lots of little goals along the way. It was like, okay, call them and ask them about this, or watch this video because I don't have enough time today. Because like I told you, I have 4 little boys, and sometimes it's hard to find time between any type of work. I'm like working in 15-minute sprints in my life. I'm like, okay, I have this one tiny little goal. I can totally get that done in 15 minutes. And it might have been a phone call to the Health and Human Services to like checked all the boxes and finally got it done. So now I can bill Medicaid, but I have not seen a Medicaid patient, but I have learned about a Medicaid patient, and I'm going to advocate to go see them. So that's my next goal. And then, get the card and then have someone maybe walk me through the steps of actually billing Medicaid. So that's one thing on my to-do list. Like I talked about baby steps, and this will be a baby step project probably for a lifetime, because I really want one of my baby steps is I got to get a better suction unit. I have a tiny one right now that like does slow speed, but I'm like, I need a high speed one that's a little bit easier. Anyway, so all these little baby steps. Also, I should mention here in Utah, probably 2 years ago as well, we got rid of our collaborative agreement. So beforehand, I was actually, I had a collaboration with a dentist who I would just say, hey, I'm going out to see this patient, and I had to pay the dentist, and I would see the patient and then just say back to the dentist, I treated them. And if I needed their help during the appointment, I could have access to the dentist. So we actually got rid of that here in Utah because what they found with collaborative agreements across the board is that they're not really necessary. And the problem is if your collaborative agreement, all of a sudden the dentist all of a sudden doesn't want to collaborate, your patients are left abandoned. And do we want to have abandonment of our patients? Like that's like one of the rules of ethics, right? We don't want to be like, I can't see you because I can't find a collaborative dentist. So that's what was happening. And these patients were then still not getting treatment, which is like terrible to do patients. So they luckily got rid of our collaborative agreement. So I actually just recently filled out the form and sent it into the state. And it just asks like, what sections are you working in? And it was like, it said like in nursing homes, in all these settings. And I was like, which one do I mark? And I was like, I'm just gonna mark every single one because I want to be able to do all of them. If I want to like go to a daycare and see some kids, I want to be able to do that. So I marked every single box on there of every single setting. And they were like, is there a particular facility you work in? Put their address. And I'm like, I'm going to work at every single facility. So I was like, I'm not putting an address on there. But so I filled that out. I'm sure that they got it. And they're like, what the heck is this hygienist doing? She's working everywhere. And I'm like, yeah, if we can, why not mark all the boxes and be able to do anything at any moment? So I should also mention that we have to have malpractice insurance, not just the basic level that I have with private practice, but that you have to have like a higher one because you're treating patients in a public health setting, which gives you a little more risk. So that's about $250 a year versus $100 a year. But yeah, here in Utah, if you have, your business license and your malpractice insurance and you filled out that form, like you're good to treat patients. And I know that might sound like 3 easy things to do, but to some it's like I have to like do all that, but baby steps if you're interested in doing something like that. And it's just super, super rewarding for sure.
You're just so inspiring, Shelley.
Yeah.
Hygienists are going to listen to this. They're all going to be signing up. They're like, Shelley, there's not enough boxes on this form.
I know, I agree. Yeah, I think just in some states still don't even have this option to go out in public health settings. So if that is a state of yours, I'd highly recommend getting involved with your association and saying we need public health for our patients, and chat with a lobbyist, and they'll help you make a bill, and they'll guide you in how to get that bill passed. And there's all those little baby steps, but then it's passed and it's going to be really great for your state. Patients and their caregivers are so appreciative that they don't have to take their family member out of the facility to go somewhere to get preventive care. But there are times where like my patient has an abscess. Of course, I can do nothing for that, but I have to advocate for the patient. You guys need to take this patient to get care. One patient, it took me 3 months. I was like doing hygiene every 3 months on this patient, and I had told them, you got to get them taken to the dentist for this abscess. I went back again. The abscess was still there. And I was like, this patient has an active infection in their mouth. They need to see a dentist. And so sometimes it's really advocating because they're hard to get to the dentist. It's difficult. It takes time. Somebody has to take work off, So if we can make it a little bit easier for patients, my dream would be that every nursing home has oral health built in, right? They have oral health built in. They are not brushing the teeth. They just don't have time. That's just how it's set up. But it would be super awesome if every facility had a hygienist on staff, right? They have nurses on staff. Like, why don't we have a hygienist on staff? I mean, it could be simple, right? I mean, it could just be, let's provide preventive care in their room every 3 months. It could be that. But I mean, there's all sorts of models, but every place needs one for sure. They just don't realize that how beneficial it is. So it takes a lot of education on our part. I think that's the hardest thing for me is I'm like, okay, I just want to go out and do my job, but I also have to stop and be like, I have to teach people why I'm even necessary. and once you teach them, they usually get it.
Yeah.
But it's hard when they still think like we're the assistant and we don't know much, but we're like, okay, wait, we got to back way up. This is who I am and why you need this service and all the things. So yeah, our profession is super fun and exciting. I used to think it was kind of boring when I was just in an op, my very first clinical job. I was like, okay, I've said brush your teeth like 6 times today and my patients don't care. And then I kind of realized over time, like, oh, this could be so much more. This could be so much better.
There wasn't enough boxes to check for you.
Exactly. I had to find some boxes to check.
Create my little boxes to check.
Exactly.
Now, your mobile unit. Tell us about your mobile unit because it's pretty unique.
Yeah, so I don't have a van or anything. I just have a kit. It's actually like a tool tackle box that I bought. It's like $150. I used to just put everything in little little containers and put them in a suitcase to take them in my initial time. And then I bought this cute one with drawers. I really like it a lot. But it just carries all my equipment. So, in the bottom are my loops and all my paperwork. And then in my 3 drawers, I've got my Prophy cups and paste and my silver diamine fluoride and my sulfonated phenolics and my povidone iodine and all the things and all my cotton rolls and gauze and then in my top drawer, I have like my bibs and my eyewear and my blood pressure cuff. And so it just really contains everything together so I can get it all in one. Cause my goal is to take everything in one shot. So I'm like, I want to be able to carry everything. And I think someday as I get more equipment, I'm going to have to take my wagon. I have to take my wagon and put everything in the wagon and then wheel it in. So I'm trying to keep it simple still, but I do, when I get there, want a few more pieces of equipment just to make it even better. So, baby steps.
And did I see you doing some dentistry to go on a bicycle, Shelley?
Okay, yes. So I have an electric cargo bike, and I met this, her name is Fiona Perry. She's from Scotland. I met her last year at the Mobile Dental Conference in Texas, which I'm going to again next week, and I'm super excited to learn all the things, always learning. And Fiona, I saw her in the RDH magazine, and she had a cargo bike. So a cargo bike is the one that has a big bucket in it and you can put stuff in it. And she was going around in Scotland with her cargo bike with her dental equipment in it, seeing patients. And I just about died when I saw that. I was like, oh my gosh, I totally want to do dentistry on my bike. So about 4 years ago, my husband bought me this electric. Mine's electric. Fiona's is not. She pedals that thing. She's so strong. He bought me this electric cargo bike. And I was super pregnant when he bought it for me, and it was December, and here in Utah it was cold, so I couldn't really ride it for a while, but I was like, I'm going to do dentistry in that thing. So anybody who's close to me, I don't have that many patients that close to me, but within a few miles, I will load my stuff up in my cargo bike and go see them. And it's really nice because I can park really close. I could park like right next to the building versus far in the parking lot usually. So it's really nice. So yeah, I'll just take it with all my equipment and go see my patient in my bike. My dream, oh my gosh, one of my dreams would be to take my cargo bike and pull up on the lawn and put my chair out underneath a tree, and my patient comes out and sees me on a nice summer day. Isn't that weird? Just like outside.
No, I love it. It's so beautiful.
I'm sitting there with the bike and the chair, and I'm out under a tree scaling my patient's teeth on a beautiful sunny day. I'm like, that's going to be my 2024 summer goal. On a nice shady morning.
I bet you could talk somebody into it. Like, it's so
Yeah.
beautiful and fresh outside. Let's
Fresh
go enjoy
air.
the mountains and the
Yeah.
air.
My patients in nursing homes, they need to get outside.
They
right?
do.
Usually I have a cute little backyard. I'm always like looking out and I'm like, nobody is out there. These cute little old people need to be outside, getting some fresh air, getting
Some
oral
sunshine.
care, oral care and
enrichment.
fresh air. My new tagline: oral care and fresh air. Oh my gosh, there we go.
That needs to be like
That's your tagline.
That's my tagline. Yeah, I would love to go out on my bike more. I really love riding my bike, but yeah, I'm not driving 20 miles on my bike. My electricity will take it, but yeah, that model is really cool. Fiona was given that bike. Actually, she mentioned to me by their like public health. Somebody else must have been using it. It was an older bike, and she was like, "I want to see these patients in their home, but like they don't have like a car. They don't have like a car system. You know, it's great. They have a lot of public transportation there, and so they were like, "Here's the bike," you know." And so, yeah, when I saw that, I was like, man, we need more dental professionals on bikes seeing patients. Wouldn't that be cool? I'm going to do that.
And then you did. So
and then I did. I don't do it in the winter. It's like way too cold to ride my bike in the winter. But yeah, in the summer, when it's nice outside, I'm taking my bike. That's always my goal, to go on my bike. Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. So just think about like when we can practice wherever we want, see people like going to their house. Shelley sets up her clinic at the park. All her patients just
Totally.
on the south entrance. Come find me.
I know. I was like thinking, I'm like, I could drive this into a homeless population. I'm like, I could see that I could take this anywhere. This would be great.
A grower's market. Honestly, a grower's market on a Saturday morning.
There we go.
I mean, they do yoga. They take SNAP benefits. Like, hello.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be fun too.
There you go.
You just put a couple passionate hygienists on a call, and we're going to come up with a ton of crazy, fun ideas.
We will find innovations.
Yeah, I'm all about that.
I love it. Shelley, it's been so fun chatting with you today. Amanda and I love to close the podcast with the same questions that we do for all of our guests. So I'll ask the first one. Okay. What topic or concept do you wish you learned in school that took you a very long time to figure out?
Yeah, in school, we are taught one way and certain things, certain instruments. And when you get out of hygiene school, you have a little more autonomy to choose things that you feel like are best. And so I think that I didn't realize initially, I'm like, I just have to go in and use whatever the dentist says, whatever the dentist says, whatever the dentist says, you know? But now I realize like, this is my hygiene department and I want to run it like a well-oiled machine, and I want to do things a certain way that are going to work really great. And so having those conversations with the dentist to be like, hey, let's like shift maybe a little bit and do it this way, or maybe try this instrument, or, you know, whatever it might be. The dentist doesn't know hygiene as much as you do, which we think they do. But they're expecting you to, you know, take the hygiene department and run with it. So do it, you know, I mean, do it budget friendly, do it how, you know, with the dentist philosophy also in mind, have those great conversations. But yeah, I think in hygiene school, we just get a little stuck with, this is how I learned it in school. Whereas, you know, over time, things are going to change, science comes out, and we've got to shift. So make those shifts.
Yeah. Well, the next question, what piece of advice do you wish you could go back and give yourself as a new grad?
Yeah, I would say networking earlier. I feel like as a new grad, we're like, ooh, I can't be involved in my association. I just graduated, you know, I can't go to that event. I just graduated. I'm so new. I know nothing yet. But I'll tell you, I just, you know, if there's any new grads or students listening to this, that, man, you're so valuable. We just really need you in the profession. We need all hygienists. I feel like too many hygienists are leaving. They just don't want to go do whitening. And that's because they have the autonomy to like choose what they want, you know? So I'm just like, we're losing all these hygienists. I really want them to have more autonomy in their own practices. maybe more independent practice so that they can, or more of these public health settings so they can have that autonomy. But yeah, don't feel like you, I feel like you network a little bit more. Go meet the people. I mean, sometimes that's hard to get out of your bubble a little bit, but just opening the conversation like, hi, my name is Shelley. I'm new, and tell me about yourself and what you've been doing in dentistry. Like, how long have you been working in dentistry? What are some cool things that you found? You have any recommendations for me? Sometimes we don't glean enough of the information from those who are around us. I mean, we have great resources in school, so ask those questions in school, especially to guide you through your profession. But I'd say get involved a little bit earlier, sooner. Just jump right in, get your feet wet.
Yeah, it's
who's really good at doing that is our little buddy Matthew.
Yeah, one day I was like, Matthew, hi.
Yes. Gosh, he's great at networking as a student. He
is. He's fearless.
Yeah, I just love when they already care about their profession before they've like officially graduated. It's amazing. How do we instill that in all the students?
I don't know. We'll have to ask him.
Yeah, my cup was empty too. Like when I started, Joffrey, like you said, my cup was empty. I was like, I don't know what's happening here. I just jumped in. But yeah, Joffrey's talking about a Matthew. He's from Fortis College. We're gonna have to send this to him. Hi, Matthew. And he was like, I already know I'm moving back to California, and I'm gonna be an RDH AP, which is, a little more, it's like their advanced practitioner. They can see patients in public health, and they can own their own building to see patients in, which it's a cool model that California has. But he knew that before he's even started. So I think there's a lot of programs that are incorporating more of that, like alternative practices, so students can see that and grow in all the areas, see what works best for them. We all feel like we have to fit in this tiny hole, but we can definitely go in a lot of different directions that we might not realize.
Well said, Shelley. I love it. I'm so glad you came to chat with us today.
Yes.
Thank you for having me on. This is so fun. I love chatting with other hygienists, and I'm so grateful that I'm here in this space and I get to share it with all of you.
Thank you so much, Shelley. It really was a great conversation. Thank you again.
Thank you.
I know. Check us off your to-do list today and go do all the other million things you have going on.
Sounds good. Will do.
All right. See you later, Shelley.
See you.
Bye.